Hello all, myself Suraj Awad. I am mentor at IASbaba. I welcome you all here in the Toppers talk with the All India rank 44, ANJALI Shrotriyya. So I congratulate her on her grand success in the UPSC. Yes, I specially mention here she was an active part of our different initiative, that is Gurukul Program, then TLP initiative, then Geography Foundation optional batch and interview mentorship program also. I have mentioned specially about this because she was with us, or she was in her preparation. IASbaba's role was active throughout the process for last 3-4 years. So in this interaction, we will try to know about how this journey was all about and how she prepared. And we will also see that what things have played important role in her preparation and what things should be avoided. So Anjali, let's start. So Anjali, first it would be better you tell about yourself.
Sir, I come from the city of Indore in Madhya Pradesh, and I have lived all my life in Indore. I have done my schooling from Indore, and I did my graduation then from Medicap's Institute of Science and Technology. And 2017 I graduated. After my graduation, I thought of preparing for civil services, and I did not take any job for that. I knew that I had to give my full time to it. So since 2017 June, I have been preparing for civil services, and this was my fourth attempt, and it was my second interview at UPSC. And for that, I chose geography as my optional subject, and hopefully everything culminated well, and finally I could clear off with a good rank this year.
So it's great, Anjali, that you have mentioned that you have started this journey at 2017 and now it's a 2022, and in a fourth attempt though, but you have achieved this grand success. So please tell us briefly about your journey so far, how it was.
Sir, about my journey, I would say that it was something which did not had a very good start, because I was unable to clear my two prelims to begin with. So that was a setback for me, because I did not know what to do then after not clearing prelims twice in a row. But somehow I gathered up myself. I used to see some motivational videos. I used to talk to other seniors. I used to take help of various platforms, institutions, and through that I used to tell myself that it will click one day. So in third attempt, I could clear my prelims, and once I cleared the prelims, the major thing that was there was the mains examination, because till that time I had not written as much of answers which were there. So, but I prepared myself quite well in my third attempt also, uh, and by God's grace, I was able to clear mains in my third attempt, and I reached to the interview stage in my third attempt. But I was short of 8 marks last year. Then finally, I had 15 days, which was remaining after 2020 result came out, and many of my friends thought to skip it, because 15 days is relatively a very short time for prelims, because it's becoming dicey these days. So, but I thought that I'll give my examination come what may. So I prepared myself in those 15 days, and I sat for the examination of prelims, and fortunately I happened to clear the prelims. And then I made sure that this time I'm going to make sure that I get so much of marks in mains that interview would not decide my rank, or it would not decide wherever I am placed in the list. So that was the thing in my mind after this prelims. So I worked very hard for mains, and thankfully it is also now replicated in my result as well. And so finally, after 4 attempts, I could manage to clear the entire examination.
So Anjali, as we have mentioned, so there were initial setbacks only, that you haven't cleared two prelims in a row. Then after it, you reached up to the interview stage, and again finally you fell short by 8 marks. That was a big disappointment. And after, we can observe with this much of experience that it takes lot of courage to gather all this again, to stand up and to appear for a next prelim just after the failure result in your after your interview stage. So how you kept yourself motivated throughout this process?
Sir, talking about the motivation part of my journey, I would say there was a ample of support at my home, including my sister, who used to sit with me. And in those 15 days, she was one person who was consistently sat with me for around 10 to 12 hours for prelims preparation, and I used to study with her. My mother and father, they had unwavering support. They told me that you'll be able to clear it, just have faith in your abilities, you have come so far, so it's just a matter of time. I also talked to my mentors. Mohan sir was always there after the result came out. I messaged him, I called him also. Then he told me that you'll make it, just don't worry, focus on your prelims. So there were a lot of people who supported me at that time. I think more than any other support, you need that motivational and mental strength to gather yourself up once you don't see your name in the list after interview. So I told myself that it's just a matter of time. I talked to my friends who already cleared that year. They told me that, if we can clear, then you surely should be in the list. So that was one thing, that I was always surrounded by positive people. So that helped me overcome those 15 days. And finally, when I saw my names in the prelims list, I was happy and I was relaxed that yes, I will be able to write the mains this time. So I'm going to capitalize on that.
So Anjali, after this things of motivation, ups and downs, and the time taken in your case specifically, so this happens in case of many aspirants. Means this you also must be knowing, and lakhs of aspirant appears for prelim, and we have very little success ratio in the final stage. So, and year by year many aspirants are coming and many gets disappointed at the prelim itself, at the main stage itself. So what specific do's and don'ts you will advise to the students for this preparation?
Sir, specifically about the do's and don'ts of the preparation, I would say that the one most important, I'll start with don'ts in the examination. So I would say that material has to be kept limited. You have to read wide. There has to be wider coverage, but then one has to be very careful in the selection of the material itself. So that is one thing. I have seen people, and I myself have also fallen in that trap of buying everything and trying to read, but retention is what is most important in the examination ultimately. Second, I would say is one important don't is that do not overemphasize on any one particular aspect. For example, people, if they're good with prelims, they will always solve the test paper. So work on your weaknesses as well. The entire preparation is about balance, how well we are able to balance all the 6 to 7 subjects that we study. A combination of it would make you an IAS or an IPS, whatever is the preferred choice, not just the focus on optional or any particular GS subject, I would say, for that matter. And so regarding the do's, I would say is that I would always, as I've always told myself also, that there are only 2 P's to clear this examination. One is the patience and second is perseverance. If one sticks to that, one will clear the exam come what may. If we are we're very honest with whatever we are doing, success will definitely come. It is very much possible to clear the examination.
So Anjali, you have rightly mentioned about this element of overemphasizing of particular element, that is prelims preparation or mains preparation, or in a mains preparation focusing or ever emphasizing on particular GS1 or GS2. So I wish you to focus or throw a light on this particular aspect, that how that integrated approach should be maintained, prelims and mains and sometimes interview also.
Sir, talking about the integrated part, which I say and which all the people also say, by integrated aspect, I would say that the preparation should not be seen as like compartmentalized into prelims, mains and interview. For that matter, interview preparation starts from day one when we start preparing ourselves. The personality starts beginning from there, developing from there. So, and I think on that part, I was a part of the Gurukul Program of Baba, and that is focused on that particular concept only, that it's an entire integrated and holistic preparation. So when we study for prelims, there are various topics and we study various things that are directly utilized in our mains as well. For instance, if you're studying modern Indian history, that is as it is replicated in the mains also. It's just the application part we have to do in mains. Similarly, there are many subjects like GS2, polity. The entire section of Lakshmikant that we study for prelims is entirely we have to revise for mains as well. So if that part is taken care of in prelims, there will be less burden in mains. If we understand and not just focus on rote learning of facts for prelims, if we understand the concept of why a particular body is there in the constitution, what is its fundamentals, we'll be able to answer a question of mains also if it comes from there. And when these concepts are very solid, I think interview would be a cakewalk for that person, because in interview, they test you on these basic fundamentals only. They ask you DAF, but they also want to ask you about what is your opinion of the various things that is going around current affairs. And these current affairs are nothing but what you have actually read in your newspapers, that is you have prepared for prelims, and whatever you have read for mains. So I would say interview is like the combined of your prelims and your mains. So if you have done the two basic foundation pillars well, interview is going to be very, very easy for that person. And often we fail to realize this somewhere. We see these three exams, we see into three parts. But if we try to holistically, we try to address it, then I think it would become easy for everybody.
So Anjali, as you have mentioned about the Gurukul program, so I want to know specifically and let other aspirants also know about it, that how Gurukul program have played role in maintaining this integrated approach of about prelim, mains and interview. Because we know in a Gurukul program, we have designed that program in such a manner that we should see preparation in a holistic and integrated manner. But it would be more better if you tell in your terms and with your experience.
Sir, regarding the Baba's Gurukul integrated approach, I was in fact the first batch which cleared this, and we were enrolled into the Baba's Gurukul program. So there I came to realize that before I was enrolled into Baba's Gurukul, I came to realize that I was treating the examination into three different ways. Like I was studying for prelims alone, I was then studying for mains, and then I was thinking when interview will come, I'll prepare for interview at that time. But through this program, I realized that no, it has to be dealt in a comprehensive manner. So what used to happen was that accessibility is, I would say, one of the best parts of IASbaba, be it any program. And in Gurukul, it was Mohan sir was always available to talk on any issue. So that was one best point I found. So he actually charted out a comprehensive plan, and even your specific plan also for every student. He told us that you can divide your day into different parts, where you can give 6 hours for maybe prelims if you want to study, 2 to 3 hours for mains, and probably some part for current affairs. So in a day, you have to study something for prelims also, something for mains also. So that made me realize, and the topic for prelims would be somewhere connected to my mains. So if I have realized that whatever are the facts around it, I'll be able to connect it better when I study that topic in depth for mains. So through this particular, I would say, customized plan that sir made for everybody, I was able to focus on my strengths, on my weakness also effectively. And since both of these paths were taken care of, towards the end in Gurukul, we were also given access to various programs like even PEP also, AIPTS also. So I used to solve question papers when pre was near. I used to solve question papers from there. So in that, I would say 20-25 days, I was completely in the prelims mode. But after that, when mains came, so we were given even access to the value addition notes, since it was the first batch. So sir told us that whatever is required, sir would be providing us with that. So value added notes were very good. Baba PDI is something I referred to for my mains preparation also. So Gurukul was in fact one thing I would say that provided us holistically with everything we said, and the content was amazing, as I would say. But that made me realize that yes, exam has to be seen in a complete manner, not as prelim, mains and interview. So that was about it.
So Anjali, considering this integrated approach, now I would like to know every aspect of preparation, that is prelim, mains, interview, optional. So let's start with the prelims. So how you have prepared for prelim throughout this process, I am telling, and to be specific, in the last year, what changes you have made in the approach to prelims?
Sir, with respect to prelims, I think I would have all the experiences which one can have with respect to prelims examination. So in my first attempt, I was barely able to manage the course for prelims, because we also do classes. So it was difficult to manage. So I was not hoping to get through my prelims, though I studied. So as a result, I could not clear my prelims, which was I was mentally prepared for that. In my second attempt, I thought that I have to clear prelims anyhow. I completely, I would say, did the mistake of shifting to prelims very early. Like I prematurely started preparing for prelims from, I would say, November starting. So exam would be on, like, say, somewhere around June. So I'm starting 6 months before with the fear that I won't be able to clear this time. So let's start very early. So by the time June came, I was already fatigued. I reached my peak somewhere in March only, which the peak should have come in June when prelims was there. Despite reading all the books, I think standard books, all the aspirants know whatever all the standard material. There are 6 to 7 books that one needs to read for prelims. One current affair material, which could be of any institute that a person has followed, which they are comfortable with, and solving as many test papers as I would say. So that was something I did everything, and I was sure that in this attempt I would at least clear my prelims if nothing works out. But I did not clear the prelims. So after these 2 attempts, I went back to realize that what is the fault that I'm committing, because I had given it everything. So now I needed to like see what fault am I committing, because it was not by 1 or 2 marks I was losing prelims. It was 8 to 10 marks, which is a good gap. So, and I think during that time, the prelims exclusive program was also launched somewhere in January 2021, I think 2020. It was launched, and the reviews were quite good, and I was not able to clear the prelims. And by third attempt, you also become a little complacent that, it's not clicking. So you need an external push, something which is new to your preparation that brings about a spark in your preparation so that you feel alive. So I thought that I will get enrolled myself in the PEP program, and offline classes were also being conducted. So I was like, it would make me disciplined also. I would go to the classes, come back, solve test papers. So with that intention, I enrolled into the PEP program. And I would say that it made me disciplined. Disciplined in the sense that we had our classes for around 2.5 hours per day. And after that class, there was a test on the same topic. So we had to come prepared for the test, and after the test, we also had a discussion of the test on the same day. So 6 hours I was devoting myself completely, thoroughly in the class. Then I was coming back. I was doing my other stuff of newspapers, etc. And then I was preparing myself for the next day. So I had targets in place because of PEP. Because after second attempt, you feel disorganized, what to do. I've done everything. So PEP brought that, I would say, exclusive focus oriented approach in my preparation. So that was one thing I would say that helped me clear my 2020 prelims. Between that time only COVID also came. So that also, disrupted my prelims preparation, because I was like, I have to give the prelims after 3 months, but COVID stretched it to 6 months. So again, I was disoriented now what to do, because I could not carry on with prelims. I knew I had to get my peak from my previous experience 2 to 2.5 months before prelims comes. So I took a small, I would say I shifted my focus to mains. So I started reading some value addition notes and etc. But at the same time, there were various test papers that were being brought in, like PEP. We had every weekly, there were test papers for prelims coming. So I used to keep on solving those during that time, during COVID. And when there was 2.5 months when it was remaining, I switched to prelims completely. With that, I would also like to mention about the role of previous year questions, as everybody talks about it. And undoubtedly, how many test papers one solves if they're not solving the PYQs? That's not going to, they're not going to clear prelims. This is something which I did not do in my past 2 attempts. So I can correlate with it. One needs to understand the pattern of the questions that UPSC is asking, what goes into the mind of examiner when they're setting up the question paper. So that is very, very important. And once you do that drill, it's just a drill of 1 year. If you have to do it only for 1 year, if you have done that rigorously from, I would say, go back to 25 years and solve all the questions that have come, not just solving the questions, also going through each option of the question that has been asked, Googling it, reverse engineering, as we say, Google it, why it has been asked, what is the thing that is associated with it, and you would find that there's a pattern to what UPSC is trying to ask. You'll see that biotech is something which is their favorite area these days. We'll also realize that there's newspaper which is very, very important in one's preparation, which has not to be skipped. Similarly, if one goes now, they'll also see that there's a resurgence of ancient medieval art and culture, which earlier UPSC was not focusing on. So that pattern, if one is able to analyze, I think they will be very comfortable when the paper of prelims comes, and they will not feel that it's something that has come out of the blue. They'll be comfortable in that sense. So apart from all the classes that I did, I focused on PYQs most importantly, and that's just for one cycle you do, and it would reap benefits to you in the next year also. It worked for me when I had 15 days. There was no time for me to look to any current affairs or anything. The only thing I did was I revised my static, and the notes of PYQs that I had made. I went through those, and that helped me sail comfortably with a comfortable margin in this prelims also. So that would be, I think, sufficient for prelim. Nothing more has to be read for prelims.
So Anjali, you have explained thoroughly and in detail approach about the prelim. And to summarize to the aspirants, we can specifically mention it that she has mentioned one significant point, that she has made notes of PYQs. So it is definitely PYQ play very important role in prelim as well as in mains. So Anjali, now it's time to discuss upon how you have prepared for mains. In that, you can tell about that what changes you have made again in the last attempt and this successful attempt that you have made, because in first two attempts you must have prepared for the mains, but there there must be some strategic changes in a preparation strategy in your last attempt and this attempt. So please focus on that.
So talking about the mains preparation, I would say that when my prelims did not get cleared, it was a blessing in disguise, because I studied for mains during that time till I was not studying for prelims. But only in 2020, I realized that I was not prepared for mains. When suddenly I cleared the prelims, which I was never expecting, then I realized that there's a even bigger challenge of mains now. So, then again, since I was a part of Gurukul Program, so in that sense, when I joined the Gurukul, one best thing that happened was that I was directly able to speak to Mohan sir. So I told him about this, and again, he listened to everything, and we charted out a strategy that was specific to my own, because my case was special, that I was not very much prepared for mains as other people were who had written it earlier. So we focused on different like GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4. We discussed how to go about every aspect of it. And through the Gurukul program, GS1 was something which I was comfortable because of my optional background of geography. But I referred to, so for society, I referred to the value addition notes that were provided to us in the Gurukul class. And specifically for ancient, medieval and art and culture, I read through my notes of prelims. As I said, those are sufficient notes. One needs to just apply them while they're writing their mains examination. I think this would be very like basic for GS1. And if one writes papers, so I was also, fortunately, because I was part of Gurukul, I was also given the TLP tests for free. So I was enrolled into that automatically. So I wrote my society papers, and under that we were also provided with the mentorship. So when I wrote my paper, I was satisfied to an extent that I had done justice to it, but I also needed to look onto my gaps. So that mentorship helped me. We were having allocated dedicated mentors for every student. So with respect to Mohan sir, I could go to any time, but with my mentor, I used to discuss my test papers, my performance in those tests, and how to bring about changes that they suggested me. So that helped me a lot. For GS2, with respect to mains, I would say that quality part, if one has done prelims very nicely, they've read religiously Lakshmikant, quality part is taken care of. One just needs to revise that. With governance, I think there's a lot of like confusion of what to read and what not to read in terms of governance. I would say that there's a syllabus which is given by UPSC, and in that syllabus they've specifically mentioned what they would want to ask in governance section. What one can do is that they can write down first of all the syllabus with their own handwriting. This is what I did. I wrote down the entire syllabus point wise in my own handwriting. UPSC mentions it in a paragraph format. So I needed those points because points are easy to like remember also. So like 4 pages were filled. I wrote every point wise, I wrote down every syllabus topic and I pasted it on my wall, because before that I did not see the main syllabus. So I wrote it, and I found that there's a substantial chunk of governance that UPSC would ask me. So my strategy was to prepare 1-pager notes for all the topics that UPSC has mentioned. and one needs to do nothing but just put a suffix of UPSC, and they need to Google search that particular topic and prepare notes. There are various dedicated articles by some you'll find of various coaching institutions. So whatever you feel good, one can go ahead with that, and they can prepare 1 or 2 pager notes. That is more than sufficient for governance. And the third part is the international relations part. Again, in prelims, we study international relations. It is nothing but it is an extension of the same. So if you are keeping a track of your newspapers, IR would be very easy to tackle. And I would also suggest the students to prepare again 1-pager notes for all the countries also. For example, India, Africa, just 1-pager notes of whatever is happening. Similarly, India, EU relations, India, America, India, Russia. So UPSC has a knack of asking US, India relations. We were asked AUKUS, which was quite in news, and it was very predictable also. I think all the aspirants who were serious would have prepared that certainly. So IR is something which is easy. Polity is something which is neglected by students, since they think that they have prepared it well in prelims, so they'll be able to do it in mains. But even simple questions like this time, I talked to a few friends of mine. Legislative Council question had come to us to write about it, and people were not able to remember the article of Legislative Council. So if they would have revised that basic polity before going for mains, that would have surely given them extra 1.5 marks, I'm sure. So that is one thing I would say it's neglected. Governance we do, IR we don't do polity, thinking that we have done Lakshmikant so many times. Just revise it once, and I think GS2 will go very well. And regarding GS3, I would say it's the biggest. And here also, I think my optional helped me. It saved me. Major chunk like agriculture is covered through my geography optional. So I was able to do that very well. I would say the neglected part here is the economics part. Again, we think that we've done it in prelims and we'll be able to do really well. I would say there were sitter questions like question number 1 was of GDP. What are the changes made in GDP? And people were not able to remember that. There was second question which talked about the different parts of budget, which we read in economics very nicely when we prepare for prelims. But since we don't revise it, my fellow friends were not able to produce that. So I would say that either do your prelims preparation very solid so their economy is taken care of, and just revise it like 1 or 2 days before your mains examination. It would stay in your head. So that is one thing I think that can give you an edge. Secondly, we also have disaster management. Again, my ecology, environment and disaster management was covered in my geography option. I only revised those notes. I did not prepare any separate notes for that as well. There are different toppers notes also. There are various value addition notes also in the Gurukul which we were provided. But since I was not looking for any other sources, so I restricted myself to my geography optional notes. And the last part is the security part, which also has a lot of weightage, like around 80 to 90 marks security comes in. What one can do is, again here, topic wise, first of all, list down whatever is the topic of security mentioned by UPSC in their syllabus. And try making again 1-page notes, not much, 1 or 2 page maximum, from the Google search or from any institute material that they have been enrolled into. I have referred to the security of value addition notes we were provided in Gurukul. I went through that. I found the content was good, pretty good in that also. So any notes or any material that one is comfortable with, one can refer that. So security, 1 page if it is done, it would sufficiently cover. And for GS4, I would say it's the most trickiest subject, and comparing it with last year, my marks were, last year they were less. I had a jump of 13 marks, I would say, but which is not quite much. People have scored really well in ethics this time as well. What changes I did from last year was that I again made those 1-page notes of every topic that is provided in ethics. If there's integrity written in the syllabus, I googled what is the meaning of integrity, a quote related to integrity, what are the examples of people who have shown integrity in their public life. Is there some personal example where I have seen integrity or I have displayed that integrity? I also wrote it down, because while preparing, we are not reminded of it. And after doing that, this time I specifically, for 2021 attempt, I downloaded the van of ethics also, because I was very I was not very confident in ethics. So I thought that if there is any good example or good stories which are mentioned in value added notes, I would go through that. So van are very short and they're very comprehensive. So I was able, it was a risk that people told me that don't pick up a new material, at least for ethics, don't do that. but I somehow wanted to do it, and I picked it up. Like, it was in 2 or 2.5 days I was able to go through, and selectively I took out things that I liked and I appended it to my notes. So that was one thing that I did. And for case studies, I would say that there were various copies which were shared to us as a part of Gurukul student, good copies of various students that helped me. Sir personally also shared to me copies of people who used to do good in case studies. I learned a lot from those copies. Case study is something which cannot be taught to you unless and until you read it, you try to think on it, you brainstorm it. So we don't have that much of time during mains to brainstorm. Either that thing has to be done before prelims. I could not do it. So I would say that if we are short on time, what I did was I personally downloaded copies of few toppers. Kanishk Kataria sir's copies were good. Vishali Singh ma'am's copies were very good, and Vishaka Yadav ma'am's copies, I followed them. And also certain copies that sir shared to us in the Gurukul group. I made a note of all the good ethics case studies, how they used to approach, what was their approach of introduction, conclusion. I noted down all the things that I found good, and combined with that, I also try to maintain my originality also in that. So that was my approach for case studies. I did not focus on covering a lot of case studies, like people say go for 80 case studies, 90 case studies. I kept it limited, but at the same time, I tried to see what toppers did and how it worked for them. I tried to replicate it in my papers as well.
So that's awesome, Anjali, that you have explained thoroughly about the GS preparation. And if we are listening it carefully, she has covered every aspect of mains preparation, and she has touched every subject from society to ethics. And very specially, she has mentioned about the customized approach that every subject need. In that, she has specially mentioned about the single page notes of each and every subtopic of the syllabus. And yes, definitely that would be a handy for your revision. So, as you know, Anjali, and we all know that mains preparation has very important and significant role for optional preparation. So, and in your case, that interesting optional you had, that is geography. So, that people says it was off the trend because after 2015, post 2015, that trend of was different subjects, and still many people with our experience being a mentor and being aspirants, you must have heard that geography is now less people preferring, or those who are taking it, they are demotivating, or they are running away from that optional, to be specific. So I would ask 2-3 things to you specifically. So what were your criteria in your personal case to choose geography as an optional, and naturally how you have prepared geography?
Sir, firstly, why I was attracted to take geography as an optional, despite people have a negative perception that it's not good scoring these days. So I also had this in my mind when I started with geography, and I talked to few people who were already in services. Mudit Jain sir was, I speak to him because he had good marks in geography, had given it. And he also told me that think about it, it's not doing good. But somewhere I felt that I liked the subject. I saw the syllabus. I found it very interesting. I thought it had a great overlap with my GS. It would help me a lot in GS with respect to essay, with respect to GS1, and also the GS3 part. So I thought that I would take this. And secondly, sir, maps was something that was always interested me. I knew that I could draw diagrams in my paper, and a pictorial representation always attracts the copy checker's mind. So I thought if I take any other option, it would be very bland. So I will be able to bring more images in the paper that would be more marks fetching for me. So that time initially I thought that. I also enrolled myself, since I had no prior background in geography, I enrolled myself into the geography optional foundation courses. And because I was not able to clear prelims twice, I tried to revise geography. I tried joining various test series also in the meanwhile. But when I finally got a chance to write mains, there was a big challenge of how to now revise geography, because I did not have consolidated notes by then. I had class notes, I had enrichment notes that and test series which I had done before. How to consolidate was a one major thing, because the syllabus of geography is definitely, it's big. So in that time frame, I thought that I would not write many tests. I wrote 1 or 2 tests, and by then I was a part of Gurukul program. And through Mohan sir, he told me that we also have Atyab sir who takes geography. That time I was not formally enrolled into geography as a part, but he was very kind enough, Athyap sir, very forthcoming, and he told me that he would look at my papers and he would guide me in that third attempt of mine. And he himself checked the papers. I was not expecting him to go to that extent. He told me what all things I need to read. He specifically mentioned that draw diagrams with pencil and it would help you get marks. Map work, what should I do? He provided, though I was not enrolled, he did provide me with whatever basic material he could provide from his own end. So, and fortunately, I got decent marks in geography last year. I got 263 marks, which was a good score, as average score, I would say. And I was happy with that score because I was not expecting that. So when I did not clear this time, I thought I need some value addition, some content I needed to enrich so that it looks something different from what others are doing. And one thing I found in Athyap sir's approach was that it was very new, it was very novel, which I was unaware of. So I requested him that if there's a batch, geography optional batch, so I would want to be a part of it. He told me that it's a foundation class and he would have done it. And so I told him, you please enroll me. I would see the lecture selectively, or I would see it at my own pace, because again, COVID second wave had struck by then, April. I knew the exams would be in October now. So again, I had that time, luxury of time. So I thought this time I'm going to capitalize on geography. So luckily there were somewhere around 80 to 90 recorded lectures of the foundation batch of geography of Athyap sir. And I saw two lectures in a day with 1.5x speed, because everything was there in my copies. The best part that I found was that he explained everything very lucidly, and diagrams is something which is his strength, which was one of the reasons why I chose geography. So for everything, he emphasized on a diagram, that this diagram has to be there. So I incorporated that into my notes. Apart from that, his examples and case studies that he used to give, something that was very new to me. So that also I incorporated from him. And for thoughts also, I think he has dealt with thoughts very systematically, in very easy language. So some of the topics like systems approach, etc., which I used to find a little difficult, he has explained that in very good terms. One thing that from Athyap sir I also learned was that you have to mention geographers in your paper. Unless and until you write geographers, you bring that geography in your answers. So by that geography, I always used to I used to get confused. What does geography in your answer mean? I am drawing maps and everything. So there's geographical terms, and the keywords of geography have to be in the answers. So sir told me to prepare like a tabular form, a content kind of thing, wherein just write the name of the geographer, the year, the book that they have written, and consolidate it. It would come handy when you will revise it, and it would become the introduction for your answers, which happened this time. So through his classes, I was able to revise my optional once before the prelims of 2021 actually, before the mains of 2021 actually came. I was able to do that. They were limited lectures, so I revised it thoroughly, and I was it was very helpful to me, because I always needed that external push, because sitting again with the same books was very monotonous to me. So that again was very, very helpful to consolidate geography. So this time I was quite happy with whatever content I had. I thought that now this is the geography that I need to go with this content in my examination, with the previous content, and with this value addition, I'll be able to do justice to the question. I was also provided with the model answers, the test series. I could not write the tests, but this time, I went through the model answers of each test, and luckily there were 3 to 4 questions which were a direct hit from the test series. So I was very happy that landslide question which came. I also told sir after that I had drawn the exact diagram that you gave in the class. So I was very lucky and fortunate that 3 to 4 questions sir had predicted. He told us, do ecotourism nicely, it might come, and it came fortunately. So all those questions were prepared beforehand. And with respect to map also, he gave a few entries of maps. So I also went through those map entries of paper 2 that comes around for 20 marks, which is very crucial. So those map entries were also very helpful, because I could never prepare for maps separately during my optional. I always relied on collecting it from 2-3 sources. So Athyap sir also provided me with that. And with this, I think my entire geography, I could manage it pretty well this time. I think my score is decent one, 276. I'm satisfied with the score. There is always scope of improvement. But I think this was the best I could write in geography this time with this content.
So, Anjali, you have rightly mentioned the foundational elements required for geography preparation, that maps, then some diagrams, then mentioning of geographers, then geographical thoughts, application of it in your mains answer. And all these elaborated things that you have mentioned, that itself in an answer that how Atyap sir is making geography a geography for a mains preparation. So yes, apart from GS and optional, now next and crucial element in mains preparation is essay. And as far as your marks in essay is considered, you have scored decent in essay. That is 133, I guess. So please throw light on essay preparation, because essay preparation is an element that many people, many aspirants, during their 3 attempts, 4 attempts, despite giving multiple mains, they not able to get that clarity on essay preparation. So you just try to mention what, if any, jump in your essay marks from last mains to this mains, and if it is, then what were the possible reasons for that?
Sir, for essay, I would say that I did not practice any of the essays during my first 2 attempts. Only when I happened to clear prelims in my 3rd attempt, I was also left now with another challenge of clearing essay after geography and all the GS. And that time I was also totally blank as to how to write an essay, because I've never ever seen also how a UPSC essay was written. So I first of all I went through the syllabus that UPSC has given for essay. They've given it. They've mentioned certain keywords that they want in essay. It has to be precise. Brevity of words has to be there. So I went through all of that. There has to be a flow in the essay. So all of those things I kept in my mind. And for initially I started with the toppers essays, which are on the various institutions. And so I read through them. I reread and reread through all those essays. And there was one thing that I found was that they were written in very simple language. So that was one breather for me, that I don't have to write any jargons and not very good English. I just have to be very good in my in whatever I'm able to communicate to the person. I have to interpret the topic very nicely. That is one most important thing in essay. So in 2020, I did practice few essays, but the most important thing I did was I brainstormed it with a friend of mine. And we used to like discuss, he used to tell me what he thinks about the essay. We used to discuss what different dimensions you can think of in that particular essay. And I brainstormed around 10 to 12 essays with that with a friend of mine. And I wrote 5 to 6 essays, and some of which I also got checked through Mohan sir. He was kind enough to get check it for me, because I think he has a very good perspective when it comes to abstract thinking, philosophies. He also shared some good copies of essays. So that was also a learning from me. I remember a copy I saw in Gurukul group posted, where they talked about a story which was connected to Mahabharata and the dialogue of Krishna and Arjun. And that gave me a new beginning, that okay, apart from anecdotes, I can also start my essay something which has a conversational form also. That is also one starting, because now anecdotes are also becoming common. Every second person is writing an anecdote in their essay. So one also needs to think beforehand as to how they are going to begin their essays. So I followed 2 approaches. One was that I'm going to give a real anecdote, which Shubham Kumar sir's also strategy talks about, and I could relate with it very well. So last year I scored 140 in essay. So that time I realized that giving a real anecdote in your introduction plays a very important role. And if you interpret it correctly, I think that sets the tone of the essay very right. And opening up dimensions possible, as many, I would not say many dimensions. I would say 5 to 6 dimensions are fine. And then going beyond what essay has said in one paragraph, not much, but what is the critical analysis as to how you feel should be the thing. You can also pen that down. And an antithesis, which is the counter argument. That was something I did not used to focus on. So with my friends, and Mohan sir also pointed that out in our discussion in Gurukul, that you can also have a counter argument in your essay, that what the author is saying, it could be opposite of that as well. So if you can bring that out, it completes your essay holistically. So that was the thing that I followed, and it worked in my 2020 essay also. And in 2021, I think I tried to do justice to the first essay. I did very well. Somehow I could not manage the time. Time management is very important. We think 3 hours is a lot of time in essay, But I would say when you start brainstorming and when you start writing, it actually takes time. So I kept 1.5 hour, but somehow I spilled it over to 1.1 hour, 50 minutes for my first essay. And I knew that I had to cut short on my second essay. So, but somehow I managed it. I wrapped it up in time. So that is one thing I would want, that when practicing also keep 1.5 hour and 1.5 hour for an essay, and interpreting the essay in the right way is most important thing. So I think if you take 5 minutes to understand what the author has, what the essay is asking us, that is fine, rather than writing something which is off topic and that would give you very less marks. This time I think the variation in essay marks is quite high. People have scored even as low as 70 also in essay, and as high as I've heard 150 also. So the variation is quite high, and I think this time both the topics were philosophical, so there might be a misinterpretation of some topic which was done. So give ample time to brainstorming the essay, and then probably move ahead with whatever content one has to write. You have to be, I think, prepared with the introductions, that what kind of an introduction at least you're going to begin with in your essay, and how also you're going to end it. I think I've downloaded Shubham Kumar sir's essay notes, which he has posted on his Telegram group, where he has given certain anecdotes, certain quotations, and Duri Shetty sir has already given that. So I combined both of them, and also I combined something from my own, and I went ahead with that. My theory was, in essay I don't need to always expand it into social, economic, political, technological, disaster management. One can also do that. That is also one approach. But I always tried to create a flow kind of a thing in my essay, that I'm beginning something, a story, and then I'm linking it with the theme of the essay, what the author is trying to say through this essay. And then probably I would build on that flow, and I'll continue that in my essay. I'll try to question also. I'll try to keep it in a narration form, so that when the person who's reading the essay also feels that the person who's written is talking to him, is asking him questions. So you can also ask questions in your essay in between, so that the person is kept engaged. One thing I think is that essay is something which is, I never broke the flow. So in one of the essays, I used to go with subheadings. And in one essay, I used to write it in paragraph format. You can write both the essays in whichever format. I used to somehow bring the diversity so that it's not monotonous to the person reading. And I would say that this is one of the least focused aspect, but it fetches you marks as your handwriting in essay. Especially in essay, when you have time, you can also experiment with two pens. You can have a black pen just to write the headings if you want, or the topic of the essay, so that it gives a very neat impression to the person who's reading it. You set the tone right. So that is very important. You can write in good handwriting in the initially, and I think that also pays off. In my case, it does. So I always try to maintain a decent hand. At least in essay, I'll write in beautiful words, as legible, and if your handwriting is beautiful, then that's an edge. So you can do that also. That also gives you an extra, I think, 5 marks, if not more. That can be done in essays. Keep reading, I would say, our mythological stories. That also helps to sometimes, create a good impression on the examiner that you're a well-read person. I would not say to read as many books as possible. If you're a person who's reading books, it would help you. I was not a very avid book reader. So I used to read various stories. Anecdotes were always there, and real anecdotes is something I would say that would help you. Apart from that, one can also go through Radhika Gupta ma'am's last year rank 18. She had written amazing essays. I went through her copies, and also her topper stock, which is available on YouTube. That is also very good talk. And Pratik Rao sir, he got highest marks in essay last year. I got my copies also, 1 or 2 copies checked from him also. That also gave me an impression that how I need to proceed ahead in essay. So that's why I was comfortably good in essays, I think, despite I had never prepared exclusively for essays, but I understood how to go about it. It was never mechanical. I never treated essays something mechanically I have to write. I was involved completely when I wrote my essay. So that was something, I think, it brought an ethical dimension also. It automatically brought an ethical dimension in my essay.
So again, like GS, optional, you have explained thoroughly about the essay. I feel you have covered all the possible aspects about the essay preparation. And to summarize, if I summarize it, then understanding the topic, extracting the exact theme, and very importantly, interpreting the topic rightly, and on top of it, what expectations UPSC has made about the essay in their guideline, that Anjali has mentioned is very important. And also, nextly, she has mentioned what can be the possible sources for essay preparation. And novelty, yes, of course, it's your individualness in that particular approach in the essay preparation that has to be there. So, essay preparation, she has tried to explain in a thorough manner. So, Anjali, next to it, as you are a part of our interview mentorship program also. So, under that program, we have seen your personality aspects. So, we got to know somehow that how you must have prepared. But yes, there always has a unique approach. And yes, if I remember correctly, last year your interview score was in 140s, if I'm not incorrect. And this year it is in 160s. So yes, 10 marks or 15 marks is improvement. And again, interview is one of the crucial aspect of UPSC, overall UPSC preparation. So please again throw a very important light on UPSC's interview preparation.
Sir, I would say that after clearing the mains examination, most of us start thinking that, it's by fluke we have cleared mains. We would not be able to get through interview. I would say that if you have gotten a call for interview, please do not think about what has happened in mains. It has happened and it can't be changed. What can be changed is your interview score. It can bring you in the list even if you have cleared mains by a margin of 4 or 5 marks also. And even it can pull you out of the list. Even if you have cleared mains with a margin of 60 marks, if you don't perform well in mains, it can get you out of the list also. Interview is that crucial factor. And for me, it was very deciding in my 2020 attempt, because I was 8 marks short and I had 149 marks, which was, and in 2020 interview marks were, they saw a new peak. So considering that, my marks were very, very less. And I had taken, again, I went to Mohan sir when I cleared my mains, because I was not expecting it at all in my third attempt. So he gave me personal sessions. They were personalized one-to-one sessions with Mohan sir. I think I took around 5 to 6 sessions. Whenever I used to request sir, I used to come, and 30 minutes there was a one-on-one session where he used to ask me questions and used to see my reply and then tell me the feedback. So I improved bit by bit in my interview with the preparation with him. There were DAF questionnaire which was given to us in the interview mentorship program as a part of it. I also appeared this time in IASbaba's physical mock also. So interview preparation, I would say, sir, for me, I could never decode what UPSC is perhaps looking for in the candidate. My 2020 interview was also quite good in my opinion. I don't know what went wrong or what more could have I done. This time when I got an interview call, I was very I knew that yes, I have to get good marks. I cannot afford to now lose it because of interview at least. So Mohan sir was there in Delhi, so I could physically meet him this time since it was not COVID. So I went to the office also, and whenever I used to meet him, he always used to tell me that you don't worry, you have a good subtle personality, you'll get at least 180, Anjali. And, somehow that used to give me a very mental peace. I was at peace with myself that yes, if he's believing in me, that there must be something. I need to have faith. So with that, I used to tell myself to keep going in the interview. Howsoever bad my mocks went, I used to call him that, sir, this has happened. And he used to tell me that, you are good, it's fine, just listen to them, but don't carry it forward in your brain. Interview day is totally another day. So I think in my 2020 attempt, my interview was forenoon, and I told him specifically, sir, before my interview, I want to talk to you, like before sleeping at least. And he was very kind enough. He told me, gave me time, and he talked to me, and he told me it will go well. So all of those, I think, though it could not materialize in my marks, but those are small things that add on to your confidence, and with a lot of confidence, one needs to go into the interview. So this time I had the same thing in my mind that whatever is the preparation is never ending for interview. I would say it's always ongoing preparation. You have to read newspapers daily. You have to see news daily. You have to also revise your prelims, mains, optional also they can ask you. They can even ask you graduation also. There's an ocean for interview, I would say, which will never end. And beyond that, they can ask you any question that they want to ask. So one would always feel that time for interview is less. And that always used to happen in my case also. So this time I thought that whatever happens, I'm going to give it calmly, coolly, and then I'll leave it up to God, whatever happens. So this time also I went with that same attitude. I was always confident in my interview. And I used to treat it like a conversation. I also was humble. So I had Smita Madam's board this time, and I was expecting at least, if not much, 170, 175 I would be getting around. This time I think UPSC has been conservative in their interview marks, as I have also not seen much of people scoring in 190s or 200s as last year compared to last year. So 163 I would say is not a very good score for someone like me to give tips on interview. What I would say is that for interview I would say I can give the don'ts. That is, don't go for too many mocks. I did that, and I think somewhere it makes us mechanical. It tells us that when this question comes, you have to react like this. While they'll be very intelligent enough to catch that in your interview, that you have prepared this beforehand. So as natural as possible. So give less mocks. I would say give more on one-on-one mocks, wherein there's a mentor with you so that they can tell you what is the wrong and what is the right and how to go about it. You can practice it with your friends informally. You can practice in front of mirror. I was fortunate that I had access to many of my friends who had already gotten into service with good ranks and with good interview marks. So Shreya Srivastav sir was there. He got into IFS. He told me practice in front of the mirror, record yourself and see yourself how you're speaking. That is one thing I started a little late, but I thought it was very, very effective. So I would say for interview, keep mocks limited, give them, but do not overdo them. That is one don't I would say. And in both of my interviews, I did this mistake. I had this fear of missing out. So I enrolled as much as possible. So I think it's curated for everybody. If they want to give, but do not take their feedbacks on your heart. Do not let it get affect. If you're affected by it, don't do that. Then stop it there. For me, it was good because if I was affected, I had either Mohan sir or I would talk to my friends, and then I would come out of it very soon. So if you have a good support system, then you can go for as many mocks you like. Try to do mirror practice. Try to talk informally with your friends, because in this preparation we become very isolated from our social circle. And in interview you need to be very, I would say, cheerful, optimistic to them. So in the board also, so they're looking for those vibrant people, vibrant personalities. So I think talk more informally with your friends. Talk to them. For girls, I would say if you're wearing a sari for the first time, for my case, I was wearing it for the first time. So practice your mock interviews also in the saris that you're going to wear. That would make it more casual and comfortable when you actually go on the day of the interview. And keep yourself very calm and composed in interview. They're also not looking for a person who's having a lot of knowledge, but a person who has a very good attitude, I would say right attitude to enter into the services. So if they find that in you, they'll make sure that you're there in the list. They're never going to reject you for no mistake of yours, I would say. So with that, I would also like to specially thank Atyab sir. My hobby was of tennis, and he also somehow followed tennis. So I told him to specifically take my sessions on tennis, ask me questions. He asked me questions. He also told me the answers to a few questions I told him of tennis, since he is a big fan of tennis. We had discussions on tennis, and he also helped me with the geography optional questions that could be asked in my interview also. And my previous interview experience was also somewhere connected to geography. So that aspect also I told him, and he helped me out with that also. So overall, I was always connected to either Mohan sir or Atyab sir for interview or means specific purposes always.
So as you have pointed out correctly, apart from mock interviews that are conducted by the different institutes, but one-on-one interactions that in your case happened with Mohan sir and Atyab sir, both, how they have helped you, that's very significant. So now, after this thorough discussion of interview preparation, Anjali, we would like to know that very special advice that you wish to give to the aspirants.
I think I would only want to tell to all the aspirants out there who are preparing that this exam has been, I would say, it's been given a lot of importance in our society also. And so there are a lot of expectations from everybody around you. It's good to have people expect that, but don't let those expectations bog you down or pressurize you in any way. Clearing this examination is just the beginning of something that you've always dreamt for. It's just the beginning. It's not the end, I would say. So if you are happen to clear this exam, you're very fortunate enough, and please create a difference when you are into the services. If you don't happen to clear this exam, I would say that there's a cumulative impact on your personality that this exam would bring about. You would be more aware than anybody else, your friends or anybody who's not prepared for this exam. So that would give you an confidence, and I think after UPSC, doors for every other examination would become really, really easy for any person. And I would say the early you start for preparation is more impactful and is more nowadays we are seeing also aspirants coming out. So I would say not too early, but in the penultimate year of your college or in the last year of your graduation, one can start preparing for civil services if they want to do it wholeheartedly. And also this examination requires a lot of perseverance. For some people, it gets clicked in 1 year, but we fail to see that those people have started preparing for this examination 3 years in their college itself. So it's a combined cumulative effect of 4 years that you see a person clearing it in their first attempt. And for some people, including myself, it takes a long time, like it takes 5 years, it takes 6 years. So I would say don't give up. If your heart says that you can do it, please go with all your attempts with full focus, with full energy. But if you think that it's not working, it's wise to take a step back and think that what is the issue? Where are you faltering? Is it prelims? Is it mains? Is it interview? Take a step back. It won't hurt. And just identify your weak areas, work on them, and write the exam after, I would say, 1 year or something, taking a break, which would rejuvenate yourself. And try for this examination, I would say, because it is not that difficult as people perceive it to be. It is one of the hardest, and it is very hardworking examination, which needs a lot of hard work. But given you do the right amount of hard work, I'm very sure that one would get the results, come what may. Sooner or later, it would happen. So positive attitude and perseverance, I would say, is the key to clearing civil services.
So this was a journey of Anjali, that it was like we were traveling with her for last 3-4 years, which started in the 2018, and at present she has a glorious success, that is all India rank 44. And in that, you must observe, and we have listened thoroughly, that how she has prepared, how the initial failures though were there, but how she rose up again and how she improved, and she finally stood here. So I congratulate once again on behalf of entire IASbaba team, Anjali, and we all wish you a success and excellence throughout your career. Yes, thank you.